FanDuel and DraftKings will no longer be allowed in New York State. And the belief being, the key to this is the court's position on the blocking of FanDuel and DraftKings within New York. There is no dispute that there is skill is an element of the daily fantasy sports competition in New York. The important question becomes, does the outcome depend substantially on chance and factors outside of the participants' control? And the court answered affirmatively yes. So what the court is basically saying in New York is that sports betting and fantasy really aren't about skill much. It's just a bunch of mitigating factors like luck. And to that, I would say, if sports betting and poker are luck, then why do the same people win and make a living from both every year? Alan Boston has been betting college basketball. I think he lives in Vegas for like 30 years, I would guess, and making a big living. So you're telling me for 30 years, Alan Boston has been lucky. Who's lucky for 3 years? If sports betting was luck and poker was luck, then the World Series of Poker every year would have 9 different people at the final table, and it doesn't. It usually a third to a half of them. You've seen them. There's a 27-year-old kid now. I swear he's in every year. Well, if it's luck, I'm not saying there isn't chance with poker. I could beat Phil Hellmuth in a hand if I got 4 aces. Of course, there's also chance for angel investors. Should that be outlawed in New York? If you're an angel investor, meaning basically you're a rich person and you decide to give young 22-year-old kids $100,000 for an app or an upstart company, the success rate's like less than 10%, maybe less than 5%. I mean, how many stocks are bought and sold a day? Isn't any of that chance and timing? I mean, they say the stock market's driven not by PE ratios, but by fear and greed. Fear and greed drives the stock market. You ever see where they come out with a jobs report? It's really good news. Or you'll see like IBM comes out today, they'll cut 9,000 employees, and the stock price goes up because Wall Street says, ooh, it's a leaner company. So bad news equals good stock. But you invest in IBM, nobody is disputing that there does take some luck in sports betting, in poker, in fantasy. Of course. I mean, a great wide receiver can do a slant and his knee blows out and, he was going to have a big day because there was a weak corner against him. But if all this stuff is absolutely more luck, why are the same people winning at sports betting in Vegas and in poker rooms and, frankly, in fantasy? I say this with fantasy all the time. The leagues I have been in fantasy, the same guys are generally really good, especially baseball, rotisserie baseball fantasy. The guys that win a lot, and they win every year. That's why they keep playing. They wouldn't keep playing if they were lousy. So, a lot of times what you have in our government is, for instance, we have politicians deciding health care initiatives. Are they doctors? Do they really know? I'd rather have surgeons decide healthcare, future ramifications and decisions. I think these guys, they don't understand betting. They've never been in a poker room. They've never gambled. And I'm not saying this because this network is an investor with DraftKings. We're not an investor with FanDuel. But I think a lot, here's the other thing. If you live in New York State, and I haven't, but I've lived in that area, there are lottery commercials on somewhere every 30 seconds. I've never lived in a region with more lottery commercials than New York. The New York State Lottery, and they're funny. They're well done. That's allowed. Well, lottery is absolute luck, complete random. That is allowed. But sports gambling, fantasy, I'll tell you, maybe I'm cynical. I just don't think the government gets a piece of it, and they don't like it. That's what it feels like to me.